I want to take you through this message I call In Search of Prophecy. Let's quickly look at the book of 1 Kings chapter 22 verse 7. It says, "And Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of the Lord besides all these people, that we might inquire of him?" Hear this. Prophecy is God's word and proclamation which he has given to the people through his servant, whom we call a prophet. The deliverer of the word of proclamation from God has no power or authority to revise the prophecy or word or proclamation which he has uttered, unless by the instructions of God, because he that declared it is only an instrument or vessel used for such. In prophecy, strict obedience to the instructions of God is necessary. Otherwise, it attracts punishment. Therefore, one has to be careful not to be deceived by any other to deviate from the instructions, visions, and callings he has received from God. Now, you need to understand, before anything happens in a society, God speaks to one of his servants, whom we all call a prophet, about it. Most often, God chooses a person or a few persons from amongst others to reveal his intentions. Prophets are God's law enforcement officers, or you call them God's law enforcement agents. Anytime God sends his messenger on an errand, he gives that messenger a message, and each message has the do's and don'ts of it. Every messenger has his own message, which carries a clause attached to it. That clause is what I call the do's and the don'ts. Prophecy can be spoken by different people and from different sources. Not everyone that has a gift to see is a prophet. No. There is a distinction between priests and prophets, and also a distinction between true prophecy and false prophecy. I want you to know this. Soothsayers, diviners, sorcerers, necromancers, psychics, fortune tellers, palm readers, astrologers, sangomas, witchcrafts, wizards, and cultists can also prophesy or foretell the future. The source of the prophecy distinguishes true and false prophets. Therefore, every genuine prophet obeys God's word and instructions. Every genuine prophet does not receive money before he performs his duties. Every genuine prophet says the truth even in the face of death, and does not deceive his followers. But he goes on to serve God even in afflictions. And by the way, God will always fight against those who come against his prophets. Some people have lost their true wives, true husbands, their positions at workplaces, their life visions, and God's favor upon their life while chasing for prophecy. There are some people you call prophets, despite what they see about you. As soon as they lay hands upon you, the little blessing you have will disappear, because they are not genuine prophets. It is not about digging out our problems, but it's about the solution. Every man has a problem, which include sometimes and many times a prophet suffering an affliction does not stop him from getting a word from the Lord. Look at the book of Numbers chapter 22 verse 30. He says, and the donkey said unto Balaam, am I not your donkey upon which you have ridden ever since I was yours until this day? Have I ever done such to you before? Now, Balaam was a soothsayer, and he was a diviner, and he prophesies with a familiar spirit. He had the gift to see and to decree over a thing. He receives money and gift before he practices work. Certainly, he cannot be a prophet of the Lord. Anyone that receives money before prophesying to you is not a prophet of the Lord. King Balak of Moab understood that Balaam can be enticed and bought with money. Hence, he sent several of his princes to Balaam with gifts and requested him to curse the children of Israel. Not because one has a gift of prophecy and can decree over a thing, now he becomes a prophet of the Lord. No. I want you to know this, and it's an assurance. No matter how powerful any man can be, if God has blessed you, no man can curse you. Sometimes also the donkeys in our life can see and can speak. When a man of God becomes disobedient, the donkey can speak. The people we call donkeys or animals in our lives are the real people who save our lives. The people we call nothing in the house of God are the ones God is even answering their prayers. Look at the first book of Kings, chapter 13. God sent a messenger from Judah to Bethel to cry over the atrocities in the land and to proclaim the destruction of the evil altars in Bethel. Evil altars in Bethel. We all know that every prophet is a messenger of the Lord, and every messenger has his own message. Not because it is an altar makes it an altar of God. It is not all the gathering that is the gathering of the Lord. Some are evil gatherings and some are evil altars. The prophet from Judah met with opposition from King Jeroboam, who raised his hand and ordered for his arrest. But God fought for the prophet instantly and made the hands of King Jeroboam dry and hung up. The messenger of the Lord beseeched and prayed to God for restoration of the king's hand, and he was made whole. Now listen to this. The prophet refused King Jeroboam's request to come and dine with him because he was giving the do's and the don'ts of the message not to go to anybody's house, nor eat or drink in the land, or to follow a different route while going back. I want you to understand, in the prophetic ministry, there is no systematic process in a prophetic assignment. Rather, everything depends on God's directives in a particular situation. Though the prophet was able to avert the temptations of the king and the leaders of the land, but he could not see the deceit of an elderly prophet who rode in his donkey, chasing him towards the way he was going, and lied to him by giving him a false prophecy that an angel of the Lord appeared to him and instructed him to take him home and feed him. Oh my God. Just because he was an older prophet, the younger prophet believed in his word. Because he was older, the younger believed in his word. I want to advise you. When God speaks to you, be careful not to listen to any other person because God has spoken. Most people today have disobeyed God's instructions through listening to various prophecies, hence have lost their true husbands, true wives, jobs, have their families and businesses destroyed, and have lost their directives and bearing and ran into confusion. Why running from one church to the other in search of prophecy? It does not mean that the young prophet who brought the message to Bethel was not a true messenger of God, but he disobeyed God's instructions and was visited with calamity. The lion killed him as a result of disobedience from direct instructions of God, and his corpse was protected by the same lion that killed him until the older prophet who deceived him and lied to him and also proclaimed about his death while they were dining came to carry his corpse and buried him. I want to say this. Anyone could question, if he is a true prophet, why didn't he see what was about to come or what was coming? I will tell you this. Being a prophet does not make you see everything, unless the one God has revealed to you. Prophets are human beings and not spirits. They live a normal life until the Spirit of God takes over them to perform certain actions. That's why most people are deceived, because they do not understand that prophets are human beings, normal human beings, and live a normal life. Most ministers of the gospel today are suffering from calamities of disobedience from direct instructions of God. When you are running around for prophecy, you are not seeking God's favor or presence. Rather, you are seeking to hear a man who claims that God says he is about to bless you, only to get your tithe and the offering and the seed. The first law in heaven is obedience to God's word, and that's what is true prophecy.